Hey, fellow stock explorers. Ready for another deep dive. Today we're strapping in for a lunar ride with intuitive machines, or LUNR, for those playing the stock market game.
What's exciting about intuitive machines is their laser focus on the moon. They're not just shooting for the stars in a general sense. They're aiming to make the moon a practical and get this profitable destination.
This all sounds incredibly cool, but the question on everyone's mind is, can they actually pull this off? Is a lunar economy truly on the horizon?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? To understand that we need to break down what Intuitive Machines is actually doing. They've got four main branches to their business.
All right, let's unpack this. Hit me with the first one.
First, they've got Lunar Access Services. Think of them as a delivery service, but instead of your doorstep, they're dropping things off on the moon.
It's like a lunar FedEx,
Yeah.
delivering anything from scientific instruments to, I don't know, moon rocks for landscaping.
Exactly. They're the ones providing the ride for payloads. Everything from rovers to experiments and potentially even resources mined from the moon someday.
Okay, that makes sense. What's next?
Then there's orbital services. This is where things get really interesting. They're building a network of satellites around the moon, kind of like a GPS system, but specifically for lunar navigation and communication.
Hold on, so they're creating a lunar internet? Sign me up. Imagine streaming live footage from a moon rover, or even, dare I say, having a Zoom call from a lunar base.
You're catching on. This network is key for anyone wanting to operate on the moon, think scientists, researchers, or even future lunar businesses. It provides a way to communicate and navigate, essentially laying the groundwork for a sustained lunar presence.
Amazing. What else do they have going on?
Next, we have lunar data services. They're not just dropping stuff off, they're gathering vital intel. Imagine high-resolution images of the lunar surface data on mineral deposits, even information on potential hazards.
So they're kind of like lunar surveyors mapping out the terrain and uncovering the moon's hidden secrets?
Precisely. This data is valuable for everything, from planning future missions to identifying potential resources for extraction.
It's starting to sound like they're building a whole lunar infrastructure. But wouldn't that require some serious hardware?
You're absolutely right. That's where their fourth business unit comes in. Space products and infrastructure. They're developing the tools and systems needed for long-term lunar operations. Think habitats, power sources, even those rovers we were talking about earlier.
Wow. So they're covering all the bases. But this all sounds very futuristic. Have they actually accomplished anything concrete yet?
Oh, absolutely. They've already achieved a major milestone. Remember back in 2024 when they successfully landed their Nova C lunar lander Odysseus on the moon?
Wait, wasn't that the one that kind of tipped over? I remember seeing those pictures.
Yes, the landing wasn't exactly textbook perfect, but hey, space is hard. The fact that they managed to get it working after that bumpy touchdown is a testament to their engineering prowess.
I'll say, that was a huge deal. It was the first U.S. landing on the moon in over 50 years and the first ever commercial lunar landing. It really put them on the map.
Absolutely. And they're not stopping there. They've got IM-2 with the Athena lander prepped for a Q1 2025 launch, and IM-3 is slated for early 2026. They're building momentum, no doubt about it.
That's impressive. But you know what really caught my eye? That massive contract. They snagged the NSNS deal. Talk about a game changer.
Ah, yes. The Near Space Network Services contract. We're talking a potential $4.82 billion over 10 years. This contract is all about building out that lunar internet we discussed earlier, making sure future lunar missions have the communication and navigation capabilities they need.
So they're not just delivering payloads, they're building the infrastructure for a connected lunar ecosystem. That's a pretty big vision.
It is indeed. And their success so far suggests they might just be the ones to make it a reality.
Well, it all sounds incredibly exciting, but at the end of the day, this is Stock Explorers. Our listeners want to know if this translates into financial success. What can you tell us about their revenue and growth?
Now that's where things get even more interesting. Their Q3 2024 earnings report showed a whopping 359% year-over-year revenue growth.
Whoa, 359%. That's not just growth, that's a lunar launch. What's driving those numbers?
A combination of factors, really. They're launching more missions, their services are expanding, and that NSNS contract is starting to kick in. Plus, they reported a positive gross margin and a record-high cash balance. All good signs.
Okay, so the numbers are looking up. But can this growth continue at such a breakneck pace? And more importantly, can they turn that revenue into profit and avoid diluting their shares further?
Those are the million-dollar questions, and they're exactly what we'll be diving into next, because as with any space venture, there are risks and challenges to consider.
All right, I'm all ears. But first, a quick reminder to all our amazing stock explorers out there. If you're enjoying this deep dive, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and make sure you smash that notification bell so you don't miss out on part 2. We'll be taking a closer look at Intuitive Machines' financial health and the potential risks they face.
Yeah, that's good.
All right, so we're back and ready to tackle the financial side of Intuitive Machines. I mean, 359% revenue growth sounds fantastic, but is it all smooth sailing from here?
Well, as with any company, especially one operating in a field as complex and risky as space exploration, there are definitely challenges to consider.
Let's start with the obvious one, profitability. They're clearly generating revenue, but are they actually making money?
That's a key question for any investor, and the short answer is not yet. They've reported significant operating losses, and space exploration is an expensive business.
It makes sense. Developing cutting-edge technology, launching rockets, building lunar infrastructure.
Yeah,
It all adds up.
exactly. But here's the thing, they've been strategically raising capital to fuel their growth. Remember that recent public offering and private placement where they raised over $100 million?
Yeah, I remember reading about that. But what are they doing with all that cash?
They've stated that it's for general corporate purposes, including research and development, which is critical for staying ahead in the space race. But they've also hinted at potential mergers and acquisitions.
Mergers and acquisitions. Now that's interesting. Are they eyeing any specific companies?
They haven't disclosed any specific targets, but it makes you wonder, could they be looking to acquire companies with expertise in areas like robotics, propulsion systems, or even lunar resource extraction?
It would be a smart move. Bolster their capabilities and potentially eliminate competition.
Yeah.
But speaking of competition, we've mentioned SpaceX a few times. Are there other players vying for a piece of the lunar pie?
Absolutely. Blue Origin, founded by Jeff Bezos, is another major contender. They're developing their own lunar lander called Blue Moon, and they've also secured contracts with NASA.
So it's a space race 2.0, private companies battling it out for lunar dominance.
In a way, yes. It's a fascinating time to be following the space industry.
It definitely is. But this raises another question. How does Intuitive Machines differentiate itself from giants like SpaceX and Blue Origin? They've got deeper pockets and more experience.
That's true. But remember, Intuitive Machines has a key advantage. Focus SpaceX is heavily invested in Mars colonization, while Blue Origin has a more diversified portfolio from space tourism to satellite internet. Intuitive Machines, on the other hand, is laser-focused on the moon.
So they're the lunar specialists. That makes sense. Specialization can be a powerful strategy, especially in a niche market like lunar exploration.
Exactly. And this specialization allows them to tailor their technologies and services specifically for the lunar environment and its unique challenges.
Speaking of challenges, they've mentioned some of their filings, right? Beyond the usual spaceflight risks like launch failures and technical difficulties.
You're right. They've highlighted the inherent complexities of operating in the lunar environment. The extreme temperatures, radiation, and that pesky lunar dust can wreak havoc on equipment and operations.
Yeah, I've heard that lunar dust is incredibly abrasive and can get into everything. Plus, there's the whole communication delay issue. Imagine trying to troubleshoot a technical glitch on a lunar lander from millions of miles away.
Definitely not a job for the faint of heart. But technical challenges aren't the only ones they're focused on overcoming. They've also emphasized the importance of sustainability in their lunar operations.
Sustainability. How does that play into lunar exploration?
Well, they're committed to minimizing their environmental impact on the moon. They're talking about avoiding contamination and even exploring ways to utilize lunar resources rather than just bringing everything from Earth.
So not just going to the moon, but being responsible stewards of the lunar environment.
Precisely. It's a forward-thinking approach that aligns with the growing emphasis on environmental responsibility.
It's great to hear they're taking that into consideration. But let's circle back to the financials. They're burning cash. They're not profitable yet. And their stock price has been, well, let's just say it's been a bit of a roller coaster ride. There was a huge spike after their successful lunar landing, but then a sharp drop when the lander tipped over. It shows how sensitive the market is to news and events.
Exactly. Investing in a young, ambitious company like Intuitive Machines is not for the risk-averse.
High risk, high reward, right?
Potentially.
Okay, so for those stock explorers out there, considering adding LUNR to their portfolio, what are some key factors to keep in mind?
First and foremost, they need to understand that this is a long-term investment. The lunar economy is still in its infancy, and it's likely to be years, if not decades, before it reaches its full potential.
Patience is key, especially when it comes to space investing.
Absolutely. Second, they need to carefully assess the risks. Space exploration is inherently risky. And Intuitive Machines faces numerous challenges, from technical to competitive to political.
And third,
Third, they need to consider their own risk tolerance. Can they handle the volatility that inevitably comes with investing in a company that's quite literally shooting for the moon?
it's a good point. This is not a stock for the faint of heart,
Yeah.
but with high risk often comes the potential for high reward. Now, before we move on, there's one more piece of the puzzle we haven't discussed yet.
Ah, yes, their collaboration with Nokia.
Nokia, the phone company. What do they have to do with the moon?
More than you might think. It turns out they're playing a key role in Intuitive Machines' IM-2 mission.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more. Nokia and the moon. I have to admit, I'm struggling to connect those dots.
Well, get ready for this. Nokia is providing a 4G LTE cellular network that will be deployed on the lunar surface as part of the IM-2 mission.
Hold on, you're saying they're putting a cell phone network on the moon? Is that even possible?
It is, and it's pretty groundbreaking. This network will allow for communication between different devices and systems on the moon, things like rovers, scientific instruments, and even potential future lunar habitats.
Wow, so we've got lunar internet and now lunar cell service. They really are building out the infrastructure for a whole lunar society. I'm picturing moon-based pizza deliveries and lunar Uber.
You're not far off. This partnership with Nokia is a major step towards making that vision a reality. It shows Intuitive Machines' commitment to building a sustainable and connected lunar ecosystem, not just delivering payloads.
This is incredible. From delivering payloads to gathering data to building a lunar internet and setting up a cellular network, it really seems like they're laying the foundation for a thriving lunar economy.
They are. And it's not just about the technology. They've also been actively building relationships with key stakeholders, including government agencies, commercial partners, and even international space agencies.
So they're playing the long game, building alliances and fostering collaboration. That's smart, especially considering the global interest in lunar exploration. But let's be realistic for a moment. Are we really talking about a lunar economy anytime soon? When will we see actual businesses operating on the moon?
That's the big question, isn't it? It's still early days, but there are companies already exploring lunar resource extraction. Think mining water ice for fuel and oxygen.
Lunar mining. Sounds like something straight out of science fiction.
It does, but it's becoming increasingly plausible. And Intuitive Machines, with their focus on lunar infrastructure and services, is well positioned to capitalize on this emerging market.
It's mind-blowing to think about the possibilities. Lunar tourism, lunar mining, lunar manufacturing. Who knows what the future holds? Maybe one day we'll be talking about lunar real estate on this show.
The potential is vast, and that's what makes Intuitive Machines such a compelling company to watch. They're not just launching rockets, they're building the foundation for a new era of space exploration and commercialization.
Well said. I think we've covered a lot of ground today, from their ambitious goals to their impressive technology to their financial performance and the competitive landscape. Any final thoughts for our listeners?
I would encourage them to look beyond the short-term stock price fluctuations and focus on the long-term vision Intuitive Machines is pursuing. They're building a future on the moon, and that, in my opinion, is a truly exciting proposition.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Intuitive Machines, a company with its sights set on the moon and potentially beyond. Definitely one to watch.
Yep.
Well, Stock Explorers, that concludes our deep dive into Intuitive Machines. We hope you found this insightful, and as always, we encourage you to do your own research before making any investment decisions.
Always a good reminder.
And don't forget to subscribe, like, and hit that notification bell to stay up to date on all things space exploration and investing. Until next time, keep exploring those stocks, and maybe we'll see you on the moon someday.
Safe